Yes. So there is one related component, inter component communication. I have two components, right? So one component I'll name it as former, and another component I'll name it as grasper. Two components I would be creating. See now, here in the data binding ngGC, right, here I can say former. Name of component is a former. It is in the flat mode, means in the same directory. I would be needing inline template. Just enable the flag inline template and inline style. So these two components are there, former, right, and one more component, grasper, right. So I have created these two components, former and the grasper. Remember that former and the grasper are inside, right, former and the grasper are inside, what you can say, this data binding component, right, this data binding component. Right, so it is inside the data binding component, former and the grasper. Former is going to decide, right, former is going to decide, right. So what it would be deciding, so here there are two buttons, here is one button and here is another button. Here is one button and here is another button. If you click on this button, it will generate, remember that, it will generate the, or it will form, right, or it will form the input box with some value. It will form input box with some value. If you click this, if this button has been clicked, here it would be button with some value. Either it is going to form button or it is going to form the input, right. So I would be needing one more class, right. So what I would be needing in the data binding, I'll go and data binding, I'm going to export one more class. See, export, right, I can say export, what you can say, class, and here you can say value or entity, what entity or control you want to create, whatever control you want to create. For that I have written separate class, right, and I have exported that class, and this class would be having only two things, right. Control is of type string and its value again it's of type string, right. Control and the string, these two would be the things. So control is the class. Remember that former is going to emit object of, what you can say, if you, let me go to the former first, this component, and this former would be having simple page division. Let me write container, then you would be having dot row, then you would be having, what you can say, dot colmd and the 12 over here, colmd and the 12, and we would be having two buttons. So, or instead of 12 I can say 6 and 6, okay. I can say 6, into this there would be one button and into this there would be another button. So I would be having one button, input type is equals to what, button, and its value would be generate or form text box, right, form text box, and this button is dedicated to form what you can say, button, right? Some styling class, you can say, what's that, btn, and btn primary, this class, same class I would be adding over here. So these two buttons are there, right? So these two, only this much is my markup template. That's why I'm writing in a line. Otherwise, if it is 1000 lines big, I would have exported this or outsourced this markup into another file. And here template URL and the style URL we could have applied, right? Now this former component is emitting the event on clicking of both these. Here you can say click over here, right? And method would be form, right? Method would be form. Are you getting that? And over here also I would be having click, click, right? Here again form, method would be what, form. And this form method is having one integer parameter that will decide which button has been clicked. So I would be writing form, right, is my call, and here you can say which button has been clicked, right? And here I can say number, which, and the number. So if which is exactly equals to 1, means first button has been clicked, then do this thing, else do this thing, right? So it is going to emit the event, remember that. So you would be needing what, event emitter. So let me have that provision, event emitter, and I would be needing the output. I'm giving you real time example, right? So here I can have one event emitter, right? And here you can say former, or say form, and of type what, control. It is going to emit, right? What's that, why it is not duplicate identifier, form, okay, form event ev, we can say form event, right? And let me attach at output over here, something like this. So form ev is the event, right, which is going to be, or event emitter, which is going to fire some events over here to the if and else block, right? So let me initialize the form ev, new event emitter, this thing, new event emitter, right? So here you can say this dot form av dot emit, right? And here also something like this, and here as well emit it. Well, exactly equals to what grammar is doing, statement must have curly braces. Well, get it. So it is a linting. I have downloaded JS lint as a plugin. You also have downloaded the JS lint, and that linting is giving you error, right? So programming grammar is checked by the linting, right? Okay, so it is going to emit, right? It is going to emit the object of type control, right? And control is having control and the value. These two things are there, right? So they are emitting, or control is of type object, which would be having control, and the val, both are of the type string. If you are clicking the first button, which is nothing but this text box, we need to emit one object. Remember that TypeScript is nothing but the shape. Two objects are in the same shape. If two objects are in the same shape, right, then two objects are identically equal. So here I am going to emit event of control, and I am passing JavaScript object. might be contradictory. Right, here object is of control and I'm emitting object is of what? JavaScript object. But if I have something like this, control is input or say text and value is of what you can say, or val is of what you can say, what's the value? Ransomware. What value should I take? Right, I can say ransomware. Fine. Can you see this thing over here? It is expected to publish object of type control. Here I am publishing object of type JS, JavaScript object. So this is not equals to this, but TypeScript says that if two, right, if two objects are in the same shape, means their keys and values are same. If class is there and if JavaScript object is there, they could be same if they are in a same shape. So same shape is nothing but your keys are same, like this. Keys should be same. Okay, in another case you can create something like this. Let ctr control, and I can say control is equals to new control. Right, here we are creating object of control, and here you can say ctl dot control is equals to button. Above line and this line is same. ctl dot value is nothing but wanna cry. Right, and I'm going to emit this ctl over here. See what I did exactly. Here I have emitted deliberately JavaScript object so that you should know control is nothing but the JavaScript object. In another terms, I want to say this thing. If you have let control of type control, let control of type control is directly equals to JavaScript object. Right, and here you can say, sorry, control is some text and your value is some text, something like this. So here I have initialized by using new, and here I have initialized in the same fashion we work with the JS object. Means this JavaScript object is in the same shape of the control. So I explain one TypeScript concept over here, which is nothing but the equality of the two objects on the basis of their shape. Right, so far we have seen if references are same, object is same. If few fields are same, object is same. TypeScript says that if it is in the same shape, it is the same. Whatever object oriented programming language you have learned so far, you have checked with the reference type, you have checked with the properties or the fields, but TypeScript says that if that is in the same shape, I am going to consider it as same. Right, something like this. That's why I have made it over here. See, from here we are emitting this control, and from here we are directly emitting this one and same. Absolutely. Right. So presently your first component, which is nothing but the former component, right, which is nothing but the former component, is emitting what to display or what to create in this component. So I am going to say grasper. Right, it is going to form, it is going to grasp. So it will, if you click on this button, it should generate the text box. If you click on this button, it should generate the button. Right, see here. Okay, so you have written at output. Remember the terminology. So former is going to produce the event. That event is going to be captured, what you can say, in the parent, which is nothing but the data binding component. So communication of the two components by the intervention of the parent. Once we learn the service, we are going to remove the parent in between this. Right? Remember that presently we are going to consider parent as well. So we would be writing one function in the parent. So formers, that would be working as a callback. When you click either over here or here, the parents function would be getting called, and that parents function would be having one variable. That variable is going to be get populated, and this variable is going to get inputted to the grasper. This inner variable is going to get inputted to the grasper, right? See now, so I'll go to the, what we can say, this, right? I'm going to go to your data binding parent, and over here, instead of having method, directly I can have object of control. See control, and I'm going to say control of type control, right? We would be having control of type control. Now remember that this component is going to emit object of type what? Control, and that object of type control I am just going to grasp, right? So over here in the, where is the HTML, data binding HTML, so I would be having one more row, and here I can say, what we can say, inter component communication, intercomponent, what we can say, communication. So page division over here, into that page division, your first app former, right? App former, and another page division, you can say app, what's that? Grasper. This. So it is going to have one output, which is nothing but what you can say, form EV, form the event, right? So I can write that form the event. This is the event. Remember that if you are going to click on the controls of this, it is going to emit one event, right? So that would be the callback over here, right? Form event, and here you are saying, if you are going to, if someone is going to click on the markup of this app former, it is going to call one of the method of the parent, which is nothing but this method, right? Or whenever you are going to, get the event from the app former, you would be getting directly over here as a $event. This $event is nothing but object of control class, and directly I can assign control is equals to the $event. If you see in the data binding, this here you will find object of or reference of control, right? And this $event is nothing but fired event that you are directly assigned to the control over here. Are you getting this? Okay. Now this app grasper would be having one input, right? That I can say IP control, CTL, input control. So here I am going to say this is a property binding, and over here I can say control. I am going to pass this object into the, what you can say, grasper, control object. So let me go to the grasper here, grasper, and here it would be having dot container. Here you can say dot row, and here you can say dot colmd, and here you can say 12, right? And here you would be having, what you can say, input type is equals to and value is equals to something like this. Right, so type is equals to, which is incoming from the at input. So what I'll do over here, see CTL. So what we have done over here, IPCTL, right? So here you can do IPCTL of type control. This is coming of type control, and you are going to say just at input, right? You can have at input, and let me attach at input like this. So you got the IPCTL over here, so I can refer it, and here you can say property binding type IPCTL dot control, and here you can say IPCTL dot value. So value would be this and control would be this. Remember that, look at the picture. Former will fire or emit object of control to the parents one of the control object. That control object is injected to the grasper, and accordingly that control object, your data is going to get changed. Now see, it's text box and it's button. What's happening? Okay, so let's check the code. Former, if 1, okay, 1 and 2 you haven't passed, I'm going to say 1 and 2 over here, right? 1 and 2. Now see, text box, ransomware, button, it is button, this, 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 this. If you say this and this, so this is one component and this is another component, right? So on the click of this button, right, one value is going to get updated. This value, this is object of CTRL, means control. On the click of this button, you are sending one control object. On the click of this text box, you are sending another control object, and this control object, right, so it is going to be updated by this former, and it is going to be injected to this, what you can say, input. So that's what simple thing we did, and this control object is available in a parent, means parent is observing. In the next strategy, parent would be removed directly, component to component communication, and that is most preferred way. Once we learn the service, I'll explain that once again. Right, so this is about what you can say inter component communication. Same, whatever we have seen earlier, implementation of that I have confronted in front of you. Right, if you have any doubt, please ask me.